Welcome back to another episode of the Healthy with Heartland podcast. I am your host, Justin Freishtat. Of course, joined with your favorite creative directors, Simon and Shannon. How's it going, guys?
It's going. How's it going for you? Sure is.
It's good. I am still down here in sunny Florida, West Palm Beach. Got a flight in 2 hours, so
Very nice.
wrapping things up down here. Mega success, top one. It's been crazy.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. We can't wait to get into it.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, so should we start with some announcements?
Let's do a couple quick announcements. Let's do it. Heartland family, if you are ready to restock from home without the hassle, we can definitely help you out with that. We have an amazing reorder special this month. So for the month of December, you can get a sweet treat for you and your family, absolutely free with your reorder. So we got brownies, we got cookies, we got cheesecake. We have it all. So definitely don't miss out on that. We want to do a special shout out and a thank you to our Heartland family members who referred in the month of November. So thank you to all those happy Heartland families. We know you love sharing the health just as much as we do. And if you're part of the Heartland family, I'm sure you're in our foodie group. We are doing a 12 days of Christmas, a holiday contest for everyone to participate. Post your pictures, and we're going to announce a bunch of lucky winners here in a few days. So make sure, if you haven't, to go in there, join the foodie group, and get participating for a chance to win a special prize. And with that, I think we can get into the podcast.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Did you share it to the foodie group?
Let's see.
I believe that's where I'm doing that right now as we speak.
Because it says that we're live on my page.
Oh.
Ooh, fancy.
I don't know how that
why I
happened.
can't find it.
Should we just roll with it, I guess, then?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
This is the first time we're broadcasting live from Justin's page.
I love it. This will be even more fun then, since we're
That's right.
talking about mega success today.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Justin, starting off with the mega success, why don't you start from the beginning? What was the trip like?
Yeah, so basically you get here. It's a 4-day event, and it's a long day. It starts around 8 a.m. Most days we're finishing around 7 p.m. You get a couple breaks for lunch and whatnot, and it's just speakers on speakers, panels, all kinds of crazy value. So to give you an idea of what this event is, just the magnitude of mega success, there were 23 billionaires in attendance and only 600 people. So talk about proximity to money, wealth, and success. It's a special place. So
Wow.
I'm extremely thankful that I found JT Fox and I stumbled across this group, and that I was, lucky enough to be invited to come. So wonderful, wonderful experience.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So of all the speakers there, not to put anybody on blast, but of all the speakers there, what do you think you got the most out of? Like, what was the one thing? Because you go to a lot of these conferences and things like that. Like, a lot of them are you pick up certain things. I mean, you pick up a lot of things, but like, what's the one thing that really hit home?
Yeah, man, that is so tough. I would say the Hugh Hilton, big real estate mogul. He was up there twice. He did 2 different talks, and then he was a part of a bunch of panels. And he really talked about success in business and just the process being more important than the profit. And what he meant by that was more so, if it isn't fun, I don't want to do it, right? So he talked about really setting the stage for how you do business is more important than anything else. And, when you're working through problems, that happens in any business, in any deal, you have to find a way to make that fun, or you're just not going to be at a high level of success. So I thought that was a really, really cool way of looking at business. And he said he's ended a lot of profitable relationships because it just wasn't people before profits and fun before money. So it's a good way of looking at things.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting philosophy. And I guess, was that philosophy shared among, the other like people there, or did you find that was like specific to him and that's why it really stood out to you?
Yeah, over and over and over, every speaker, everybody at a high level talked about the relationships being more important than anything else. And that just was a reoccurring theme, how you treat the people around you in your circle. Loyalty, probably really the biggest theme of the whole conference. So
Wow.
doing what you say, me not ever retrading on people with your personal capital, I think is the biggest thing, because there were so many examples of people that were supposed to be there, big time speakers that didn't show up at the last minute and they had to replace them, and all kinds of things that went wrong. And it's like, once you do that to somebody and you don't show up or don't do what you say you're going to do, it's the relationship is pretty much done and damaged.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
you talk about business and relationships. That's, that's a huge aspect of that. And it's really important in terms of, like when you're thinking now in terms of business and in terms of building your personal brand and, such, like the relationships that you hold are super important.
And what kind of stood out to me from what you just said is that even though it was this, super high end, these super successful people, there was still like some sort of adversity that, they had to go through because, things happen at the last minute. And then like, the kind of person that you are and how you handle it, I think speaks even more to, the lessons that you've learned than, the wrongs that may have happened or, the things that may have gone wrong. So that's pretty cool to hear.
Yeah. And I feel like you learn a lot through adversity, or you learn even more through adversity, right? Like success, you definitely learn through your successes, but through adversity, I think that's a really, like important part of life in general, just learning through that adversity.
Yep. People talk about failure, how you deal with failure. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I'm taking away from, leaving this place is that everybody that was here was all on the same page. There was so much congruence in the positivity and everybody just working together. I mean, I've never felt so comfortable in a room full of strangers ever in my life. I mean, everybody networking. How can I get better from you? No matter where you are in the food chain, it was just complete collaboration. Wow. And there are plenty of times you're sitting next to a billionaire, you're talking to him, you don't even know it. And I think not being able to identify whether somebody in that room had $100 or $100 million really speaks to just the type of person that's in this network. And one of the things that JT really prepared us for is you're riding this major high. It's an incredible event. And then you're going to go home and you're going to be back in a negative world because most people around us, it's just a fact of life, are not going to be on that same mental wavelength. So preparing yourself for negativity, haters, all that stuff.
The real
Vanilla Ice was on stage and somebody asked him how he handles that situation. So one thing about Vanilla Ice, you know him for Ice Ice Baby, and on the surface you think like, oh, one-hit wonder guy, right? But when he got out of that, he's a major real estate investor and he's done extremely well. He's extremely wealthy, tons of knowledge. And he literally said, you never do a cater, you just say later. I love that.
That's awesome.
Dropping bombs with that.
It's a philosopher there. Vanilla Ice, you heard it here first, people.
That's right. So Justin, what was something, I guess, that came from like left field that you weren't thinking that you'd experience, that you experienced at the mega success?
What came out of left field? Terry Fader came out of left field, I'll tell you that. That was and it came out of left field for everyone. So he was booked, I think, 3 days before the conference. He was the finale at Mega Success. And originally it was supposed to be Alec Baldwin. And we all know what happened with that. So
goodness.
Yeah, they had to pivot fast and find somebody to fill that spot. There was a crazy amount of stories of just, how they worked behind the scenes through adversity and got the schedule filled. And yeah, it was pretty incredible.
Was this the first Mega Success conference since COVID, or have there been others?
Yep. So they did a virtual one last year, I believe, but this was the first in-person one since COVID hit. Wow. And while I'm thinking about it, there was a story. Tim Gannon was on stage, and he's the founder of Outback.
Okay.
And he was telling a story of how he was $50,000 to $100,000 in debt, starting the restaurant brand, and he was offered $1 million to sell the brand to a bigger restaurant group or something. And he told the story of, I try to put myself in that situation. If I'm 50 grand in debt and somebody's got a check for $1 million, how many people are not taking that check,
Right.
Yeah.
So he didn't take the check, and instead of $1 million, he's got $1 billion. So it's just some of these stories are just incredible about mindset, perseverance, believing in yourself, how you think about money. If $1 million is a lot of money to you, you're taking the check. So you have to have a much bigger vision
Right.
and not be afraid of the short term and oh, what if I lose this or I lose that? Because if you're not willing to bet on yourself, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yep. And we talk about it all the time, like your why. Why is it that you do things? And I think that's a perfect example of someone's why being bigger than, that $1 million in that moment.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty
It's
sick.
crazy. I'm just like sitting here with all my notes. I'm like, what do I want to talk about right now? It's just wild.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. And I mean, we want to also bring you your flowers while you're, you know what I mean? Like you're doing all this. Cause I mean, you've been putting in a tremendous amount of effort and you know what I mean? Just like total, I mean, I didn't even think you could 360 from where you were at, but now, you know what I mean? I feel like you've making these leaps and bounds. So, I mean, I do want to give you a shout out just cause I mean, from anybody recognizing you putting in all the work, like we definitely see it.
Yep.
And I just want to talk about that. Like, now that you're back, or you're not back yet, but now that you're coming back, like what are the next steps? Like, what do you see, after the mega success? Like, what are some things that you got going on that you can pursue?
Well, thank you, by the way.
Of course.
I think one of the best parts about being here, so Brent, one of somebody on JT's team, very successful guy, he did a talk about what he learned from JT, and I'll tell this story because it really solidifies the way that I feel all the time in the normal world. It's very difficult to be different than everybody else, right? I'm just not built like the average. I have no interest in average in any part of my life, but this is really, really cool. So there's 5 critical areas of life. You've got your finances, your physical fitness and health, your family, hobbies, and friends. You can pick 3 of the 5, but you can't have everything. Right? So, and that's coming from someone with hundreds of millions of dollars saying, look, if you want to be a jack of all trades, you'll be a master of none. So
Wow.
there's different ways to approach life. If you go for balance, you just won't have a lot of any category. So I thought that was really impactful, because I know what my 3 focus is. It's finances, health, and family, right? So I'm just that, there's all the time in the back of my head, like I love music, I love guitar, I love playing hockey, like all these things that, that I want to do a lot of that have been taking a back seat while I really focus on propelling those other areas forward. And family is a definition. Everybody's got a different definition. I don't have kids. It's not congruent with time, right? So family for me is my wife, my dog, the Heartland family. Like that's my immediate family, right? And then of course, your parents and your siblings and stuff like that.
Right.
But even some of those relationships have to take a little bit of a back seat while you focus on the things that are number one and congruent to get, everything forward at an extremely high level. And you have to just accept the reality of this. And if you don't want an insanely high level, then you spread it across and things will be, you'll get a good amount of everything, but you'll never have a massive amount of something unless you focus on only 3 out of 5.
That's huge. Because I think that's that same mentality as far as like drawing the line in the sand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you have to take a stand for it. And if you try to, do everything or please everyone, you're going to end up not pleasing anything. You know what I mean? Like you have to draw that line in the sand and say, hey, this is the 3 things that I'm going for. And I don't have a pen or a paper, but Justin, you're going to have to either like text me that or send me that because I'm going
to replay this.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to, do that, write those things down and, identify. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Once you do identify, there's no going back. And
I think what's just as huge is that that these things about yourself and that you've decided it. And then from there, it's like, a lot of people have regret or have, things that, I should have done this or I wish I would have done this, but you've already made the decision. And so you already know, the outcome. Yeah. And so, you're not going to be upset with what your outcome is because you're deciding it now. I think that's huge too.
Yeah. And I struggle with that all the time. When you talk about your music, your hockey, like the things that you enjoy and that you think, oh, hey, but maybe at the same time they're taking away from
your attention, your energy.
Right.
Putting everything into, what it is that you truly, really want. So I think that having people think about those 5 things and then narrowing it down, that's huge.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's definitely powerful.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that,
and
yeah.
it's just, hearing these things, hearing these people that even at their level, miles ahead of where I am, they
Right.
still have to make those tough decisions. It gives you kind of permission to be the way you
Right.
want to be
Right.
and not feel bad about the things that you're leaving behind, because you literally can't have it all. That's just
Yeah.
such a myth. Even the people at the highest level are sacrificing something to be at that level, and you just have to find out what that is for you.
Yep.
It's nothing wrong with what you decide. If you decide hobbies, friends, family, well, you'll
Balance.
never be wealthy, right?
But you need to be okay with it,
Right, which is, if that's what you want out of life, I think the important part of that talk is figuring out what those things are, doubling down on it, and feeling good about it, and not worrying about the other, because
Yes.
then you're going to be stuck in a mental push and pull where you're never happy.
Yep. That's so true. That's I feel like a lot of people get to that point and they're like, they can't be happy with the choices they made, so do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's just so much. I'm looking at all these notes. I'm like, what should we talk about next?
Yeah. And so we saw photos. I guess you were on stage and you did the interview. How did all that work? How was all that?
Yeah, so I was on stage with JT and this guy Alex. He sold an app to GE, I believe, for $200 million, and now he's working on a new project with JT. They're developing an app that's going to be a social network. It's called QP. You can download it, and it's basically they're flipping the algorithm, right? Because we all know engagement on social media, being suppressed, like you are at the mercy of the algorithm and the kings of each social media network. So they're creating the first unbiased network, I guess you could say, where you can follow people. You'll never see how many followers someone has or how many's following. So it's not a competition of followers and stuff like that. It's a real unbiased engagement of content.
Wow.
So really cool stuff that's happening.
That's huge.
So I was also on stage with the guy, I'm blanking on his name. He's a big real estate mogul worth $800 million. So, I'm walking out on the stage and I'm part of an interview and a panel with probably $2 billion, right? It's
wow.
Yeah, just proximity is huge,
Yeah.
So they were talking about, the secret sauces to success. And, Alex goes first. I think the guy Matt goes second, and then it goes to me. I'm like, what am I going to say, right? And I just think that from whatever level you are to wherever you want to go, it's really about increasing capacity and then the micro efficiency within those moments. So every time you think that your calendar is full, you can't do more, there's always more time, right? Because we all have the same amount of time every day. Some people are getting an insane amount done. Some people are working 40 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
So you should be able to audit your life backwards and say, okay, do I have more capacity this week than I did last week? If I look at myself a month ago, am I able to do more in a day than I did a month ago? You should be able to look at yourself a year ago and feel like a different person. Right. So if you don't have that progression, you're just not working on expanding your capacity and then being more efficient within the new capacity that you can create.
Huge.
Yeah.
Because we had that conversation, Shannon and I, about doing something for a certain period of time and then becoming efficient at it. Because starting something new, you have to kind of work out the certain
learn the ropes,
learn the basically like your schedule, how you're going to do those things. And then once you're doing that and you're kind of in a rhythm, excuse me, once you're in the rhythm, then you should be able to kind of develop a more efficient way at tackling that same situation. So then you do have more time.
Yeah, more room to grow, which I think is exactly what you just illustrated.
Right.
And too, I don't know if this is directly related, and this is kind of, again, giving kudos back to you, Justin. We heard, I forget what podcast we were listening to. We were listening to something, and it was like, there's no such thing as luck. It's just the corner of opportunity and hard work.
Hard work, yeah.
So it's just those two things and timing, right? Because the fact that you've put in all the hard work and the opportunity coming at a specific time is what creates that experience.
That quote unquote luck.
Exactly. It's not actually luck. It's just hard work and opportunity that are meeting right at the right time.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what JT says over and over. He's like, it's one person, it's one moment, it's one deal. It's one place that you were that's all it takes to completely change your life, right? So if you look at the order of events of how this happened for me, I was listening to Bradley's podcast. He was talking, this is probably, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months ago. He's like, there's this new app called Clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, what's that? I'll go check it out. So I get on Clubhouse. I start following Bradley because I follow him, right? And the way Clubhouse works, it's an audio chat room app, if you don't know. And there's all these groups, and anyone can go in there, and whoever is moderating the group can bring people on stage, right? So I followed some of the key people, gurus that I follow on other platforms, and then you get alerts when they start chatting in a room. So a couple months ago, I got an alert, Bradley is talking in this room. So I go into the room, and he's having a conversation with a guy named JT Fox, right? Never heard of him before, and he is just roasting people. It's incredible. I've never heard anything like it. I mean, he's the toughest on you I've ever seen, and in a good way, right? Because he knows what you need. He knows how to coach you. He's the highest paid business coach in the world, right?
Wow.
So I start looking into JT. He does this thing called free coaching, right? So I click on that. I go to the free coaching Zoom and get some free coaching. And then I get an email saying, hey, 2 speakers dropped out at Mega Success. We're looking for people to fill the spot. So instantly, I don't know why. I mean, I didn't even think about it. I clicked it. I'm like, I'm going to try to see if I can get on this stage, right? And I'm like, I didn't know really anything about Mega Success, anything about JT, the event. So then I started looking, okay, what's this Mega Success thing? It's a business conference. I saw all the pictures, all the celebrities, and I'm like, okay, this is a pretty big deal. I may as well just audition, and I probably won't get the spot, but whatever, right? You know, I already know that 90% of life is just showing up and seeing what happens, and most people fail just because they don't show up, right?
Exactly.
So I show up. There's like 30, 40 people that are on there to get this two stage spots, right? So they go through like what it is, how it works, and then there's a link to basically further the conversation and an audition for it. Click the link, no hesitation. And what I learned later was that matters to them, the speed that someone moves. I think I was the second person to click the link and get in the queue. And 15-minute interview with Erica, somebody who works for JT. She's like, you got the spot. So that chain of events of just showing up, you know, like what if that day I got in the car and I'm like, you know, I'm going to listen to some music instead of a podcast that's going to make my life better. I don't hear about Clubhouse, right? If I didn't click the link when Bradley was talking Clubhouse, I don't find out about JT Fox. I don't look into JT. I don't end up on a free coaching call. I don't hit the email link, two speaker spots. You know, I don't end up on that Zoom. I don't take action, click the link and further the conversation to get on stage. I don't end up on stage, and I'm not at Mega Success, and my life doesn't get changed forever. So these are the things you have to think about if you want to go somewhere and you're not going and things aren't changing in your life. You don't have a 100% commitment to all the little micro moments that are going to get you to where you want to be.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that domino effect.
A snowball. It's a snowball. I mean, we're talking about like, 6 months, but when you look back, think about a year or 2 years from now, that little moment, like you said, that Clubhouse interaction, that finding JT Fox is going to look like something so small compared to now. You know what I mean? That snowball that just keeps rolling. But I think the biggest part about what you're saying is taking action.
Starting.
Because that's where a lot of people kind of, I feel like, miss the step, is really just taking action. It's not going to be perfect. You don't know what's going to happen, but as long as you take that action and you show up and you actually get there, like, that's powerful. That's huge. And I mean, like I said, congratulations to you, man, for taking that step and doing it, and because you were pretty vulnerable. You know what I mean? You were like, hey, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm probably not going to get this. You were already second guessing.
Do it anyway.
And that, right? Exactly. And you went anyway and you did it. That's huge. You know what I mean? For that.
Yep.
Like,
that's I think the difference between, people who don't do those things and people who do,
Yeah.
It's your own personal
that's
decision.
taking action.
It's your own personal choice.
Yeah, they said, like the whole fake it till you make it thing.
Yeah.
That's on the surface what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not. Fake it till you make it doesn't work. It's act as if.
Act as
Right.
if.
I like that a lot better.
Act as if, right?
Yeah.
I didn't in my core, did I think I belong on that stage? Not really, But that was a self-limiting belief that I had, right?
Right.
That's why I've never been on big stages before. It's
Right.
that simple. So I got vulnerable, like you said. I
Mhm.
acted as if,
Yep.
and now I'm in the highest level network group probably in the world. I mean, it's one thing to go to mega success.
Yeah.
It's another to get on stage, but I'm not even really supposed to say the name of the group, the mastermind afterwards, because it's that close of a network.
Wow.
And one thing, if you go on Clubhouse, if you go anywhere across JT's, Francie, his CEOs, like they will never talk about the mastermind I was just at.
Wow.
And the people that are there will never talk about the name or all these other things that I heard about all these other networks. And there's a reason, because they have to sift through thousands and thousands of donkeys to find the couple people that they want to bring into this network.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
It's about those people taking action and really, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people out there that want to do a lot of things. And like you said, a lot of people have those 5 things that they're probably paying a lot of attention to. They want to look for people, like you said, like you that are on
Willing to double down, take that risk, and go for it.
Right.
So
Yeah. So yeah,
stuff.
I'm coming out of this a completely different mindset, different person, and I guess the moral of the story is be involved, do things that are uncomfortable. You don't have to have it figured out, because there's no way to have it figured out in advance. You just have to do and not think.
Yep. Get to that edge and just jump. You know what I mean? You have to get uncomfortable, like you said. You have to be able to take that belief in yourself, really. Because like you said, you like everyone, and sitting from where we're sitting, you would think, oh, why would Justin second guess himself? All the good stuff, you know what I mean? All the stuff that he does. But I think that everyone deals with that.
Yep.
Everyone has that certain thing that
self-talk,
limiting.
those limiting beliefs, those I think
that's why it's so important to go to conferences.
It's new, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's new, and so challenging yourself in whatever way that is, whether it's mentally, physically, business, finance, in your career, whatever that is, I mean, I think even more the reason to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, so you have to be careful with the balance, right? It's important to listen to podcasts, read books, go to seminars, do all these things. But if you become a seminar junkie and there's no action on the back end,
right?
I mean, that's where 99% of like motivation people are. Like, I follow Gary Vee, I do this, I do that. Well, that's cool that you skim the content and you're basically into financial entertainment.
Yeah.
But what are you doing with it?
Mm-hmm.
Show me what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's all that counts.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's taking that knowledge, and I think people get too caught up on being students and learning that they don't use the information, right? Like they consume so much content, and there's a lot of content out there, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You could just get caught. I mean, and I think that's the job of YouTube. YouTube wants to put you in a funnel. Social media wants to get you in that.
Education.
Right, because there's so many.
Educate yourself on everything. You could be an expert in so many topics, but again, what are you doing with it?
Right.
Yeah, there's 2 types of people on social media. There's people who are consuming content, and there's people who are producing the content.
Right.
So, everybody likes to scroll the feed every now and then, see what's going on. I mean, the people you follow.
Right.
But if you do, and this is something you can do an audit of your feed, right? See how much negativity is in your feed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very good reflection of where your mindset is, because you are going to get what you accept and what you do. When I scroll through my feed, I mean, all I see is like obviously food stuff, right? Tons of it,
Right.
Yeah.
right? But it's like one heavy hitting post after the other from all these incredible people that I keep in my network.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
I don't get the woe is me posts.
Right.
I don't allow victims close to me anymore. And I'm going to be more like that moving forward, because in order to get something good to come in, something else has to go.
Mm-hmm.
Got to create that room.
Yeah. So look, people are either going to be happy for you when you accelerate. They're either going to get complex and negative. And I'm drawing a big line in the sand with that because I can't have that kind of stuff in my brain. I just can't. You shouldn't allow it either.
Yep.
I think Cardone, he was that whole no negativity, right? Like, don't if you're around me, I don't want to, I don't want to be around it.
I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
Focusing on the stuff that's more important, and most of the time the more important stuff is like, if it's those three things, right? It's the things that bring you happiness and you're happy doing it. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it all makes sense if when you get it kind of going.
Yeah. And I think it's important to kind of identify now though, cuz I mean, I feel like you're kind of at the beginning of this kind of stage. What has it been like, creating this transition?
I've realized more than ever that your network and your relationships are the most important thing there is, the relational capital. I mean, I have probably, I'd have to look, but I think about 100 new people that I'm following on Instagram and whatever, people that I met that I want in my circle. Spent 8-9 days here, and I'm coming away with 100 solid contacts of people that I want in my life, right? So if I keep doing those things over time, I keep showing up to high-level conferences, keep trying to get myself on stages, that's where the big breakthroughs are going to happen in your life, when you're out there meeting people. Yeah. One thing that they talked about is how terrible the social media advertising space is getting, how expensive and ineffective it is. And the big theme of business for 2022 is this type of marketing, right? People, and then doubling down within the current network and customers that you already have. So rather than trying to get new customers, it's how do we make a better experience with the people we already have, and that will bring us more people. Because the days of just spending money and having things in your feed, we're all tired of ads in the feed. Everyone's tired of it. I mean, how many webinars do you click and watch anymore? Like, that was a thing for a while, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Things move so fast. It's just, that's kind of where we are in business. So
I think it's like that. It
would be, even somebody at a level way higher than me is telling me this, that we're just not going to do the social media ads anymore. It's like, well, if the greatest marketers in the world are quitting on it, I don't want to spend my money on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we knew that it was coming to this because, I mean, COVID, I feel like accelerated it, like tenfold, because, you think about ads were pretty cheap at the beginning when Facebook had first started.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were super cheap. As it kind of gone on and got kind of really saturated. Now it's kind of expensive, and now, like you said, most consumers are looking at the ads and they're like, "Oh, I'm hitting it." You know what I mean? But
they don't need an ad anymore. They're creating relationships, and they're building they're building an actual know and trust with brands that are out there who are doing a good job at building their brand identity, and they don't really need an ad to tell them what product they need. They're following influencers and people they already trust who are going to recommend those products they need, or they're going to be able to find it themselves doing their own research based on what those brands like beliefs are, and if their their beliefs match up with that. I think there's a lot of that now.
And I think it's still the most important marketing is word of mouth, right?
Yep.
Like
Always.
Your friends are going to tell you something, and that's going to spark something, and it goes back to, like, Justin, what you're saying is, like, who are you keeping around you? Because what kind of information, what kind of friends do you have that are telling you, like giving you recommendations on certain things?
Yeah.
Again, you wouldn't have known about JT Fox if you hadn't been following Bradley. So, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy on stage. He was electric. His name's Jesse Cole. His Instagram is Yellow Tux Jesse. This guy was incredible. So he started a minor league baseball team down in Georgia, the Savannah Bananas, right? Literally named the team the Bananas, I think is what they're called. But he made the whole experience. He's like baseball's boring, right? And I'm like, everybody, yeah, it is, right? Yeah. So he turned the ballpark into an experience. And there's a game that's played. The fans play a game during the game. Like, if there's a bunt, there's like points, and there's like, they got the third base coach does like a break dance every game. There's like a big banana that gives you high fives when you walk in the ballpark. One car gets washed during the game, and they like celebrate the person that come out. So when you park at the ballpark, everybody knows like I might come outside and my car's washed. They changed it. They don't sell tickets and refreshments and all that. It's an all-inclusive experience.
Wow.
You pay for your ticket. The drinks are free. The food's free. The entertainment. Wow. And he basically created almost like you go to medieval times or something for a show.
I love medieval.
Now you're going to a baseball game for a show.
Wow. What a great idea.
Yeah.
And guess what they spend on marketing?
Probably zero.
Really?
Wow.
And they're sold out every night.
Holy crap. That's awesome.
That's the customer experience.
Yep.
That's exactly it. That's what he said. He goes, whatever you do in business, go for the experience instead of marketing. That's where the world's going. The marketing is just not working like it used to. Unless you have a massive brand like Coca-Cola or Walmart, like the Savannah Bananas, Heartland Foods, small businesses, you have to double down on your customer experience. And that's how you'll win in today's market.
Yeah.
True.
Which is, I mean, when you think about COVID though, it's going to be kind of tough, you know, like when you think of if you have to create these certain experiences as far as like, you know, like going to Savannah Banana. Well,
virtually.
Yeah. What would happen? You'd have to do that virtually?
I guess.
Yeah.
That'd be tough.
Yeah. I mean, he had some tough things, right? He got the players to, they go out and they pick random people to sign things during the game. They do a big dance together. They always, like, a couple people get walked to their car. Like, there's all these things that are going to happen that the fans know, right? So they're just changing the way things are done and doing so much that's different, right? So it's just like we've done some good things at Heartland to enhance the customer experience. Like we send out the cutting boards. We've got, it's not a banana, but we've got T-Bone, the mascot. And it's like, what are things that we can continue to innovate and add in to give our customers an even better experience than what they expect? And that's what we have to focus on moving forward.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, I think what goes synonymously along with what you're saying too is like the culture, like everyone there who works, for Savannah Bananas or whatever, they're bought into that. They drink the Kool-Aid. Right. They're like, this is the most awesome thing ever. Like, I love my job. I love what I do. And you have to like bet that the people that are going there, they feel that, they know that,
right.
The teamwork, the
they
support that they're getting, Yeah, I think it's huge. And I think, we do a good job of that too, being there for our customers, for our families, and, helping them in any way that we possibly can.
But we can always tweak it. You can always add things, like Justin's saying, to that customer experience to enhance it, like Savannah Bananas. So you took something that is, again, totally left field, right? In baseball to creating a different sort of experience for customers. And I think the biggest thing there is families in general, because baseball was always a family sport. Like, you showed up with your kid. Like, no one wants to go watch baseball by themselves and sit in the corner. There's probably a couple people, but most people are bringing your family there because it was something that you could, it was
American pastime.
Yeah, an American pastime, but it was affordable. Whereas you try to go to an NFL game or an NBA game, it's still, it's crazy expensive to take your kids to those kind of things. So I think my hat's off to the Savannah Banana guy to kind of, develop something that is family friendly and then affordable for family. Because you think a family of 4, family of 5, like, it's a pretty chunk of money to go to a professional sport or any kind of sport in general.
A movie or
any of those things.
Anything nowadays.
Yeah, and you hate getting nickeled and dimed, right? It's like, okay, I pay for my ticket. And then I get there, okay, well, how much is the drinks? And everything's always crazy, right? And how much is the food? Next thing you know, like, you don't know what it's going to be. The process feels like you're in the endless money pit funnel, and it's terrible. So he's like, well, how do we solve that problem? We're going to include everything at one price, right? Genius. And he said, what's so crazy about creating this incredible fan experience? They sell more merchandise than some major league teams.
Wow.
I mean, think about that, right? They're creating such an incredible experience for their fans that they buy a ton of merchandise.
Yeah, something to remember them by.
That's that cult-like following. People are like, hey.
I love it.
I love it here, yeah.
Give me more of it.
And that's
fan.
the biggest part, right? Return guests. Yep. People coming back.
They always talk about in the restaurants, return guests. Of course, word of mouth, but return guests.
How are you going to get someone to return? You're going to have to create that great enough experience for them to be like, hey, not only am I going to come back, but I want to tell my friends about it. And I'm going to bring my friends with me. And then we're going to keep coming. And then we're going to be here, 10, 20 years now,
Definitely.
Yeah, he talked. What was it? It'll come to me. But he said something really funny. I mean, everything's really funny. Yeah. So he talked about doing ridiculous things, right? Just like outlandish, ridiculous things. So when you buy a ticket, they have a call center. They call the person who bought the ticket and leave them this like crazy voicemail about like, thank you for buying the ticket. We have like a Willy Wonka. Like right now, your golden ticket is being processed underneath the stadium. It's getting sent here, and then we're gonna put it in this incredible packaging, and then we're gonna ship it to your house, and it's gonna be filled with bananas or like whatever. Like, and he's like talking about like all these crazy things that they do. Like they just went on a world tour and played baseball in like 3 local cities and called it a world tour. It's like
that's smart. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's cool.
It's innovative,
creative, different, and people respond to that a lot.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
disrupting, right?
Different.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's disrupting their market. Like, I don't think there's any team out there that's.
I never heard of one.
Yeah. And we've been to
maybe the Nats
Potomac
should
Nationals
start doing that.
Yeah.
Breakdancing at third base.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just hilarious.
That's cool.
All right. What else we got?
I could listen to this all day.
Yeah. I'd say take it away.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what else I'd say. I would just say if you get the opportunity to follow JT Fox, get free coaching, the man's incredible. He picked 6 random people out of the audience, put them on stage, 3 of them for sales coaching and 3 of them for just regular coaching. And he literally can look at you. He did this in front of the whole audience and profiled you. Left brain, right brain. What do you do for a living? He can tell you everything about you just by looking at you. And yeah, it's a whole nother level. He really is the best in the world. So go to the free coaching. They also have, a private equity group. If you're someone who likes to invest in things and, you think a 401k is BS, then take a look at the founders.
Sweet. Well, I loved hearing about it. It was super interesting. I'm sure it was even greater to be there in person.
Yeah.
Congratulations again. And, maybe we could talk a little bit more about, any other stories that you remember along the way at a future podcast. But, yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to debrief all of these notes and see what we can take from it, right? Because now is the time where the action needs to take place. So
For sure.
Information is nothing without action behind it.
There you go.
Heard it here first.
Jinx. All right. Well, thank you very much, Heartland family, for joining in. If you have any questions for Justin, I'm sure you can place them in the comment section below. And if not, we'll see you next week for our last episode of the year. And we'll be joining you guys again in January. So we're super excited for that. So, Justin, you can go ahead and send us off.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Heartland family. We'll be back next week, 9:30 a.m. on Thursday. And as always, stay healthy with Heartland.